Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Friday morning, and welcome to Morning Coffee with Mitch. Good to see you. So far, all 33 of you. Wow, wow, wow. And I just took a look, and I am indeed live, and I imagine that everybody can hear me, and the chat's rolling away. Good to be here. Welcome to Morning Coffee with Mitch. Obviously, it's me, Mitch. Drink it if you got it. I know I will. So here we are. Here we are yet again. A little bit overcast this morning. You can always tell if it's a sunny morning, a bright sunny morning here in Florida. You'll see one side of my face lit pretty strong by the sunlight coming through the windows here. If it's overcast, I'll be a little more flatly lit. We had a lot of activity in the chat. I watched some TV this morning, watched some news. It is now. I'm going to tell you the good news about the election season. It's all political ads now and no drug ads. No, wait, I take that back. I saw an ad this morning on TV for this Dupixent, if you've ever heard of that. Dupixent. It's a drug to basically treat or get rid of, never gets rid of it, but treat eczema. And of course there was a whole bunch of music and very happy people in there and in bathing suits showing off their eczema-free skin, and then the inevitable list of side effects. Nothing serious. Kidney damage, liver damage. It's crazy. And I just wanted to make this little point because if any of you watched Joe Rogan's interview with J.D. Vance yesterday, they actually talked about this. It was a great interview. And I don't care which side of the political aisle you're on. You should watch it. That's the one thing about Joe Rogan is he's an interviewer that is basically just having a conversation. And if nothing else in that conversation, you can really get to know almost intimately the kind of person, the kind of human being that he's interviewing. That interview went for 3 hours and 20 minutes, and it's very hard when you're having a conversation for 3 hours and 20 minutes. Somebody else watching couldn't get a clue as to who you are, what kind of person you are, what kind of human being you are. And it was engrossing. And they got into so many different areas. And they started talking about the advertising and RFK Jr. and they started touching on the push to fix our health. And they also talked about the corruption of the food companies. They talked a lot about that, and it was really nice to hear. And one of the points that Vance pointed out is something that I'm almost ashamed of myself. Should have been obvious to me, but it wasn't an angle that I ever particularly viewed drug company advertising. And that angle was, and this is really, really interesting. So consider this, then I'll bring Ellen in, because Ellen is patiently waiting in the green room. He made the point that those advertisements for drugs on TV don't sell drugs for the drug companies. Nobody who sees one of those drug ads and then listens to that long, extensive, dangerous, and deadly list of side effects is running to their doctor saying, "Doctor, doctor, I need Dupixent. I saw it on TV." That's not why the drug companies run drug ads on TV. And that sounds absurd, doesn't it? Sounds absurd. What it really is, and I believe this 100%, is it's a way for these huge pharmaceutical companies to funnel huge amounts of money into all of the news organizations so they toe the line and don't do anything but support any political cause or any economic cause that's for the drug companies and for pharmaceutical companies. It has nothing to do with selling drugs. It's bribery. That money they're throwing at these news organizations is to buy them off. Maybe that's why the ads are so silly. At any rate, that's something to think about. And that's something I got out of this interview. And if I get nothing else out of that interview, wow, wow, what a light bulb moment. What an insight. What do you think, Ellen?
Mhm.
What do you think about that?
Good morning, Mitch.
Yes. Did you hear what I said? I asked you what you
Did
thought
hear
about that light
said.
bulb moment.
Yes, and I think we know who owns the media.
I think there's no doubt. I think there's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How you doing this morning? I
Well,
didn't mean to throw you that curveball. I was just trying to be like a good
no,
segue into you, but
segue.
I
I'm
caught you
doing
by surprise.
great. Speaking of light bulb, the sun is coming out here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, you look well
See?
lit this morning. You
Yes.
look well lit.
I'm be glowing this morning.
Yes, I'm going to entitle this whole live stream Ellen Out
So,
of the Darkness.
yes, it's Friday.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
interesting you mentioned the eczema. I've noticed that there's a lot of eczema ads. There must be interesting. Eczema must be I don't know, a thing,
Well,
a problem or
it's
something they're pushing.
it is
Pollen.
a chronic condition that is aggravated by the
Yeah.
same lousy
And-
diet that aggravates everything else, and of course, just like diabetes is increasing and heart disease is so is eczema and I think it's I'm not really sure about it. I never did a lot of research. I know I had eczema on my elbows. My elbows used to be crusty and itchy, and
Mhm.
there's not a sign of it now. I didn't take any
Yeah.
medicine.
Well, I was gonna say I hear a lot of people say that their eczema improves or goes away when they
Oh,
start.
it went away. And psoriasis, and it's kind of related to psoriasis.
You know,
And I think it's an autoimmune. I think it's
Mhm.
an autoimmune deal,
Right.
but
So
don't quote me on that.
you don't
I
you
need
don't
to make my
want you don't need the drugs, despite how happy those people look. Taking.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, they're happy because they're getting paid money to be an actor on
Yeah.
a drug ad. Well, good to
Yes.
see you this morning, Ellen.
Hi,
So
everyone. Dad, I
you've
look
been
forward
busy.
to interacting with you.
You did what?
I look forward to interacting with everyone in chat. Sorry.
Oh, okay. And let me
Okay.
put you up. Let me put you back
Yes.
up in your office up there, and then you can do that. While I have another sip of coffee. I slept great last night. But I have the strangest thing happened last night. You know, I passed that kidney stone, and we're back to the kidney stone again. Last night on our private live stream chat, it was wild. I mean, we had a good time, didn't we? Last night, it was great.
Yes.
And we talked, and I talked. I mean, I went into great detail about my doctor's visit yesterday. I'm not going to rehash that here. I may actually make a standalone video about the whole start to soup to nuts adventure of these kidney stones. But something happened last night, and I don't want another one. I passed a another stone last night, a second stone. It was half the size of the first one, maybe less than half the size. But, after I'm done, I look down in the bowl and I see this another one of those little black speck things, pebble things. And I said, holy cow, what the hell is that? I didn't feel anything. I didn't have any pain, nothing. And I got my tweezers like I did the last time, and I got the thing out. Sure enough, I put it up next to the first stone. It's the same color. It's not as smooth as the first stone. It was a little rougher, but it was much, much smaller. I kept trying to see maybe it broke off from that stone. So I kept looking around to see if there was a spot on the first stone that looked like this may have fractured, but it wasn't. It was a small, separate kidney stone. I was astounded. I got a twofer. I got a twofer. I got the main event and the hitchhiker. I mean, that was incredible. And I went to the doctor yesterday, and I'm not going to talk a lot about that doctor's appointment, but I am going to, and not about how I interacted with him and whether I got my way or not, but I did well. I did well. I did mark my territory. I wasn't, I mean, was I impressed? Nah. Was I in the you're an idiot, doc, see you walking out mode? No, never came to that. The guy was obviously a competent urologist, but he had no personality whatsoever. Never showed me any humanity or any human side. It was all business, all business, all business. But he did have copies because he's he's an on-call urologist at the hospital where I went to the emergency room. And when I first made the appointment, this receptionist has made such a big deal. Well, you need to bring all your medical records. Oh, well, the VA has. Well, you need to go to the VA. You need to get everything. You need to bring them here. And then when I said, no, I'm not doing that. So I went in there to talk to him. And I said, I'm just here to talk. I'm not here for an exam. I just want to talk. You can bill the insurance company for a visit. I'll pay him for his time. I paid the deductible. But I just wanted to ask him a couple questions about what his thoughts might be about my remaining kidney stones. And that was it. I didn't want to talk about anything else. I didn't want to talk about prostate health. I didn't want to talk about anything. I wanted to deal with my kidney stones. Last time I tried to do that with an outside urologist, it went bad and I left. All that guy wanted to do was line me up for a whole bunch of tests, and it was ugly. He was an idiot. So he starts looking at his papers, and he said, well, I'm looking at your scans here. And I go, and it dawned on me, yeah, of course he could get my scans. He's affiliated with the hospital. They are the ones that gave me his name after all. And he had copies of my CT scans. And he looked, and I had told him I passed the stone. I showed him the picture. I showed him, the birthday picture that I showed you guys, where it was surrounded by the tweezers. And he said, wow. He said, that's a big stone. And he said, if you pass that one, the remaining, and he said this, and it shocked me, the other two stones that you have left in your right kidney are much smaller, and you'll have no problem with them. Well, I started with 8 kidney stones on the last scan I had of my kidneys before I started carnivore, and I had 8 stones in. Most of them were 5-6 millimeters, and I had one granddaddy that was 1.1 centimeters, 11 millimeters, which was a big stone. And they were spread over both my kidneys. I know that over the past 2 years, by not eating oxalates, which is the key, that I have been oxalate dumping. And part of oxalate dumping is the oxalates in your body are dissolving and trying to get out of your body. And that's why you start, instead of continuing to build bigger and bigger and bigger kidney stones until in some cases they've been found as big as golf balls, you start dissolving them. I know there's so many remedies so many remedies. You got to drink lemon juice. You got to do this. You got to do that. I got one comment yesterday. The guy says you got to drink a complete 2 liter Pepsi Zero. I mean, hey, if this worked for that guy, that was great. But the ritual that he had, oh, that'll get rid of him in a day or two or something. I'm paraphrasing, and I'm not knocking the commenter. I mean, everybody who tells me these things means well and wants to help. I appreciate that. They may not know my situation or where I got these kidney stones or why. And the doctor was confused about that yesterday as well. The first thing he starts talking about is he starts giving me dietary advice, as if I'm still forming kidney stones. And he just, well, here's what you need to do. Like I don't know anything and I'm a stoner, and here's, well, you need to stop eating vegetables with oxalates. And he started naming them off. And the guy still hadn't looked me in the face yet. He walked in looking the other way. I'm Dr. So-and-so, and then he's got his head buried in the paperwork, and the whole time he's talking to me, he's not talking to me. He's talking to the paperwork. He's just orating. And then he goes into this speech about how I need to change my diet. And I finally looked up and I said, Doc, time out. That's just the way I said it. Time out. None of that stuff is relevant to me. And I'll tell you why. And I told him I'm a carnivore. And I told him I haven't eaten an oxalate in well over 2 years. I told him I had 8 kidney stones. And now you tell me I've got only 2 left in that kidney. I've been oxalate dumping and I hope he understood what oxalate. I've been oxalate dumping for 2 years. My problem is not how to keep from forming stones. I have one problem. My one problem, and the reason I'm here, is to talk to you about options to deal with the stones I have left. That's it. Well, he finally started to look at me, and we finally started to have a conversation. But these guys have 5 minutes to spend with you. They got a routine they need to go through. It's scripted as hell. We need to do this. We need to tell them this. We need to tell them that. We need to write this prescription, and we need to steer them and direct them out to the receptionist so they can book their next appointment. That's the practice of medicine, my friends. It's not the doctor's fault either. They need to run a machine like that these days, to comply with all of the authorities above them and to make a living. And it's sad. Turns out I've got 3 kidney stones left out of the original 8. And last night when I passed that second little one, I said, wow, what a surprise. I passed one, had all kinds of pain, and another one just kind of went along for the ride. So we'll see if any more of them go. But I got 2 smaller stones, 3 or 4 millimeter stones left in my right kidney. And I've got 1 Rock of Gibraltar in my left kidney. So that's the only concern really that I have left now after a lifetime of accumulating these things. Maybe even damaging my kidneys a little bit with all of these things. I have 1 11 millimeters or 10 millimeter stone left. It has shrunk a little bit. I think he said it was a centimeter. It used to be bigger. And we talked a little bit for a minute or two about the options of how it might, the procedures, some of the options. They can go up in there and bust it up. They can try the lithotripsy from the outside and bust it up. But he said, I wouldn't worry about it till you get some signs that it's starting to move, like some pain or something. So that goes along with one of my main philosophies of life. And that is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think in this case, I'm happy. So I'm kind of relieved. I was almost like a reprieve from another imminent adventure of what I just had. There's no way I would ever pass a stone that big, so somebody would have to intervene. Anyway, that's my kidney stone story and my doctor story, and that's enough stories for today. So I had twins. Now Fred has a baby brother. Fred is my kidney stone's name. My daughter named named her. And I think that came from Fred Flintstone. I think that was the impetus for her saying name it Fred. I think she may have had Flintstone in her mind. And I'm going to start saying hi to some people, and that's what I usually do. And while you guys think up any questions you might ask, and you can ask questions about the kidney stones if you'd like. Uh, it was it was an adventure, and it's quite a story. Not just what I had to physically go through, but the angst, anxiety, worry, unknowns, problems with the medical community not telling you what to expect or look out for. Just doing their thing and getting rid of you as quick as they can. Had the same problem with my brain surgery 3 years ago. Nobody prepared me for what was to come after the surgery, and that was the hardest part. Because when things start happening, the first thing you do is panic. If they had said, you can expect this and that over the next 2 or 3 weeks of recovery, then it would have made it so easy. Why couldn't they have just sat down with me for 2 minutes and said, okay, after surgery, you're going to have the recurrence of some of the same symptoms for about 2 or 3 weeks as your brain that has been compressed almost an inch from that huge subdural hematoma expands back into the space where it was. So don't be alarmed. How is it that that's not a standard part of keeping your patient informed? I went back to the hospital when those symptoms recurred, stayed another day in the hospital, incurred countless additional tests. And then they said, oh, well, that usually happens. Well, I didn't know, and I wasn't going to take any chances. That's the kind of care I usually receive from the medical community. Here's the prescription. Good luck to you, sir. And you're on your own, and that sucks. That sucks. Anyway, let's see here. I got my new glasses today. Things are looking pretty sharp on the computer screen. This is great. So maybe I won't have to lean in, but I do have to turn my head over to that side of the screen away from the camera to read the chat. And I'm coming up to about 8:30 in the morning here on this chat, 8:29, and I want to start exactly at 8:30. And of course, it was Ellen. Hi, Ellen. Good.
Hello.
Yes. And then Boyd Lamb comes in, and Boyd says, from Marvel, is that, yeah, it's still certain letters. Still, I thought I might not have to do this. What is that name? All I see is M-A, it looks like Manvel, Texas. I never heard of that. No wonder it didn't look familiar. Manvel. At any rate, this one I can read from Satya Khalsa says, good morning, friends. Good to see you. Booby Goats is here. How you doing? Good to see you this morning. Papa Carnivore, Peter, how you doing? I wrote down a list of all the physical and mental health conditions I had, and so far it's up to 25 things. Holy cow, Peter, 25 things. You must have been digging deep. Did you count dirt under your fingernails and things like that, or are we talking about serious conditions? It'd be interesting to find out what all that was. Patty Molden says good morning. Good morning, Mitch and gang, and Jen S. is here, says good morning. We have Viking Tom, Viking 442 from Tampa, Florida. And you may notice I changed the style a little bit of the banners at the bottom. I took that huge red thing off and just made it black. I think that's easier. And then I do have my name up there, but it's not as obtrusive as it was being a big red blob. So we're going to try this for a while because we do get people who don't know who I am, and I did without it yesterday, but I said, well, maybe today I'll just put it back in there. David Kuhn, how you doing? Good morning, Mitch. And Johnny Drone Flyers here. Hiya, Johnny. Good to see you. And this is I'm not familiar with this name. Moto J81. Morning, everyone. Aunt B is here, saying hi to everybody. Mama J is here. How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Satya is back, and Ellen is talking to her. And let's see who I haven't said. Rick is here. Charger Mopar. How you doing, Rick? Good to see you from Miami, Florida. And Ground Beef Guy is here. I like that name. Good morning from Florence, South Carolina. Good to see you. Don Shonger. Good morning to you. And CB is here. Hiya, CB. How you doing? I have to spark an idea today. Tired after driving and the process of my wife and her citizenship. Congratulations, man. That's right. We didn't see you last night. You were on your way home. Congratulations. Congratulations. An oath ceremony. That's great, man. That's great. Make sure you drag her to the voting booth now that she's a citizen. Oh, good to see you, CV. Good to see you. Here's one that I don't know if I've seen before. Granny Boo. Granny Boo. Granny Boo 2. Good morning from Oklahoma. We got a few grannies. We got a few grannies in here. As well we should. Lori's Carnivore Story. Good morning to you. How you going? She's asking CB how that went. Dixie Scott's here. How you doing, Dixie? Good to see you. And Tracy Jordan. Good morning, Mitch. And we go down the list. Eddie Edwards is here. Says good morning, Mitch, Ellen, and all carnivores. Polish Mike, good morning. Says good morning, boss, and everyone else. Well, as long as you get the boss first, you got your priorities in order. Good to see that. Good morning, Mike. DS111. Hello from Los Angeles. Yesterday, I took the rest of the day off and ate meat. As well you should. At least somebody listens to me. It's always nice to know. Aunt B is here saying hi to virtually everybody. Anybody new? Said hi to you. Said hi to you. We do have some prolific chatters. I don't see Mike Seeley's father and son here yet this morning. That's unusual. That's unusual. Cindy Braddock is here. Good morning to you. Mama Bear is here. How are you today? So I'm 10 minutes into the chat now. Who else? Who else? We'll do this for another minute or two. Which will take us up to the top of the hour, and then we'll start engaging and see if we can find some questions or anything like that. And again, don't forget this weekend, time change, and God will I be glad when this election season is over with. It is getting elevating to a fever pitch. That's all everybody talks about anywhere you go. And look who's here. Touramere Carnivore. Hey people, I'm at the Heathrow Airport in London. Can't listen, but I'm here with my spirit waiting for my flight to Las Vegas. And I got a fairly lengthy email from him this morning, and talking all about his trip, and he's on the plane. He's heading for Las Vegas. A little bit about how he does follow United States politics. He's, because I told him to ignore it when he got here, but.
Oh yes, because I believe he copied the same one to me. So I'm glad you got.
Yes, he did, Ellen. That's right. I saw that. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have time to reply this morning, but when I hit the reply button, I was going to reply, but then something else got my attention. It said reply all. Well, you only get that reply all message when it was sent to more than one person in the first place. So
yes,
and I went up to look at the list and I saw your name in there. So yeah, it was something, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. That was nice of him to give us an update.
And I hope that I gotta shut my notifications off because I know I like to keep it on. So if somebody buys me a coffee, I can hear it. But I'm getting texts, I'm getting emails. I'm too busy for that right now. Uh, where was I? Oh yeah, Touramere. Yeah, so have a great time. Have a great time. I know you're probably not listening right now if you're in the airport, but yeah, when you do watch the replay of this, if you get around to it, have a great time and keep in touch. I'm sure you will keep in touch. I'm sure you'll keep in touch with us. Who else we got? Dixie Biking, Papa Carnivore. Who is this? Carney Keto. Oh, used to be Rice and Beans. How you doing, my friends? He loves Vegas, or she. Uh, I used to like Vegas. I just had to spend so much time there on business that I decided, I had enough of Vegas. The town is primarily one huge con and ripoff, but at least they make you feel special, and you can have a good time there. One of the biggest attractions of Vegas, of course, is food, which doesn't really fit in anymore, unless you go to the prime rib buffet and just eat an entire prime rib roast, which at least you get your money's worth. Okay, I think we're at a point where I don't see any new people. So if I missed you, who is this? Carnegie. Yeah, it's just a long name, just one string of characters. No, I think that's about it. I see Boyd there, and okay, Mark Booz is here. Yeah, yeah. I don't think I've said hi to you yet, but that's going to have to do it if I missed you. Marcia's here. How you doing, Marcia? Yeah, you guys keep sneaking in at the end. All right, Ellen. Ellen,
Yes,
do we have do we have any questions yet?
we do.
Okay.
Polish Mike would like to know, have you ever served in the military?
Uh, well, obviously, since I get my primary health care from the VA, yes, I have. Yes, I have. I've told, made that known publicly. I'm very proud of the fact that I'm a veteran. I served from 1966. God, even saying that scares the hell out of me. I served from 1966, 4 years, until 1970 during the Vietnam War era. I didn't serve in combat. I was going to get drafted. So I actually went and explored my options. And one of the options I had was I could enlist for 4 years, and they would guarantee I would not be sent to Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And I took all kinds of aptitude tests, and they decided that I was much better suited. There were two things in the Army that they figured, because I was not an athlete, believe me. I passed the physical, but everybody passed the physical back then. You had to be in pretty bad shape. But I, of course, was overweight. I was always fat as a kid. Not very athletic, but I had a big brain. Okay, always. I scored like out of sight on all of their aptitude tests for things, and they decided there were two things that I could do. Now, I had just gotten out of high school. I went to college for a year, but it bored the shit out of me, and I said, this is not for me. This is just more high school. I'm not learning anything useful. And I dropped out of college, and that's when the draft notice came. I decided I was an entrepreneur. I was one of these people. Kind of like some of the most wealthy people in our country, like Bill Gates and those people who never got a college degree because they just considered it a waste of time and money. Mute your mic, Ellen, if you would, okay? Getting some feedback from it. There you go. Thank you. Yeah, I'm getting my voice coming back through your mic, and I want to make sure that it wasn't on my end. Okay, thanks. I'll remind you to unmute it. So I went to the military. I went. The two choices I had was in high school. I had been the lead, believe it or not, the lead tuba player in the high school marching band and the symphony, the high school and all city Philadelphia Symphony Orchestra, and I was a pretty accomplished musician back, even at that age. And I played the tuba. I played the tuba because I was a guitarist, and when I first went into high school, there are no guitars in the marching band, so they said, "Okay, we want you to play the tuba." And they gave me this huge tuba, the kind that wraps around you like you see people walking down a sousaphone. And I started taking tuba lessons, and within 3 years, I was one of the best tuba players in any school in the city of Philadelphia. That's why I got the seat in the All City Senior High School Orchestra. So I really took to that. And the Army said, "Would you like to be a tuba player in the Army marching band?" Honest to God. I said, no, no, thank you. I mean, that I could only imagine how tough and physically demanding. It was bad enough in high school having to march in an occasional football game, but I couldn't imagine that every day I'd have to be traveling with this band, with this huge tuba somewhere in a uniform to perform in some function, parade, or something else. I said, no, that's not for me. What else you got? Well, we think you'd make an incredible electronics technician, they said. And I'd always loved electronics. I said, that's it. Sign me up. So I became an electronics technician, and my field was repairing crypto and top secret electronic gear that was used for spying, basically. And I was assigned to the Army Security Agency, which is a branch of the NSA. And I got a top secret security clearance with a crypto access, which is one of the highest clearances you could get. They did a background check on me. They were interviewing my kindergarten teacher, my neighbors. I mean, it was extensive, but I did get it. I went to basic training at Fort Dix, New Jersey. I then was sent up to Fort Devens, Massachusetts for AIT training and electronics school, and I was there for like 8 or 9 months. Then they shipped me to Turkey and put me in a huge field station with one of the largest antenna fields in the world, where I sat and fixed the electronic equipment in a big depot shop and rebuilt it, where they actually monitored everything, and I mean everything, broadcast in the Soviet Union 24/7. Was crazy. And it was very interesting. I was there for 11 months, and then they sent me to Germany. And I spent the last 2 years of my military career in Europe having the best time of my life. I made rank. I never was an officer, but I made E6 in 15 months in the Army, which is crazy. So I was the equivalent of a staff sergeant when I should have been thinking about making corporal. That's how fast they advanced me as an NCO. When I got to Germany, I had a little car. They shipped it over to Europe for me, and I had the adventure of my lifetime, and I wouldn't have traded it for the world. So I didn't risk my life in the Army, but I think I did serve my country. So I hope that's a long answer to the question, but I think it's a good story, and I thought this would be a great time to tell it. So, Ellen, unmute the mic and tell me what's next. But wait, something's missing. Something's missing. Oh, how can I forget? It's 10 after, and I forgot. So excuse me, everybody. Excuse me while I light my cigar and enjoy the music and move to it and dance a little bit. Be happy to be alive. Yes, once again, the music was perfectly timed. That happens by accident, folks. I'm not that clever with this portable mixer that I got here. This is it's working great. It's working great. The studio is working great, but it is it isn't up to the standards of the equipment that I got in my office studio in the house. It's made up completely of leftover stuff that I had, and I'm tickled to death that we finally got it working as well as it does, and that we can put out a morning podcast that we're proud of. We're proud of it. It sounds good and it looks good and hopefully entertains people. Got 113 people here on a Friday morning. Not bad. Friday mornings are traditionally a little slower. I think maybe people are getting ready from the weekend. Maybe some of you actually are hung over from too much sugar last night on Halloween. Um, that was a non-event for me. Non-event for me. So what you got there, Ellen? What's the next
I
question?
hope not. Well, Peter asked about your kidney stones, but I think you answered his question, Peter. So I think you should be good. Let me know if that didn't do it. And Boyd, our friend Boyd Lamb,
Uh-oh.
has a question. Maybe I missed.
I always say uh-oh when I hear Boyd ask me a question.
Actually, this is a pretty straightforward one.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Boyd.
At Old Guy Carnivore, maybe I missed your optometrist exam result. RX, did your RX get stronger?
Oh, okay. That's a great question.
Change in any way?
And
Oh,
I'm
what about cataracts? Yeah, I wanted to know.
oh, okay. And I have the smoky lounge effect going on here.
Yes, I know. Yes. Life is good. Coffee, cigars,
Oh,
sunshine,
cigars and coffee.
wonderful
I
people.
gotta tell you,
Life is good.
sleep. Sleep clears aggravations from your mind. You can go to bed, kind of cynical and maybe dwelling on things that are negatives, but usually when I wake up in the morning, those thoughts are gone. So it's a conscious effort, not much as an effort, but it's a conscious decision that first thing in the morning I say, how do I want this day to start? How do I want this day to be? What would be more and I've learned to make the decision that every morning when I get up, I spring out of bed. I always have, but my first thing is I stretch, I put a big smile on my face, and I say my favorite saying. I say, "Life is good," and it sets the tone for the day, and that's the tone that you guys will generally see of me in the morning, and it may be completely different than the tone that you see from me at 8 o'clock p.m. on a live stream after a day of just being bombarded with bullshit from every direction. But I think it's helpful, and I think it makes it a great place to be. Anywhere you can be around positivity and excitement to start your day, I think is a great thing. And uh, I'm not consciously trying to do this. I just find myself a happy guy in the morning, and the mornings are my happiest time of the day, the time I don't take stuff as seriously as I usually do. It wasn't the way I started on these Monday morning things. It started out as a rant, and usually I was talking about how aggravated I was about idiots' comments, but that just drags you down. And at the end of those things, I was already depressed. So I said, nah, that's not what I'm doing here every morning now. I'm going to leave you with happy music on a happy note, a few puffs of smoke and some good coffee, and that's the way it's going to be. So, Boyd, your question was, yes, I had my eye exam. There was the tiniest little bit of improvement in the magnification. Nothing major. My new glasses are identical to my old glasses, except the only change of any minor significance was the astigmatism correction, which means that over 2 years, uh, my eyeballs changed shape just the tiniest little bit. That's what astigmatism is from, to adjust for your eyeball being a little bit out of round. My prism correction was exactly the same. I put the new glasses on. Oh, as far as cataracts go, I there was no comment at all. And I've had cataracts. I've had a cataract in my left eye for a long time, but it has never gotten to the point where I needed to worry about it. It was just minor. It was just beginning. I didn't, and she didn't say anything about it. The last time my cataract had improved a little bit. It's possible that it has either stopped getting worse or it is improving, and that's in my left eye. But pretty much status quo, other than a few small adjustments. And I'm sitting here now reading through the reading part of my glasses at my computer screen. It is a little bit sharper, a little bit sharp enough, but there are some combinations of letters that are going to blend together, M's and N's next to R's, things like that that I may have to look forward. But right now I'm looking at it, and it is a little bit sharper than it was with my older glasses. So in that respect, I'm very happy. I'm happy that they worked right out of the box. She got it right. I got two pair of them because my insurance would cover two pairs. So I got a spare pair of exactly the same glasses. So now I have four pairs of glasses that all look exactly the same. So to make sure I don't grab the wrong ones, I took the previous two pair of glasses, I put them in cases, I put a rubber band around them with the receipt for these glasses, and I put them away in a drawer. I always keep a spare pair of glasses in my car because that's the worst thing that can happen to you is you lose your glasses like when you're out and about. Having one with you when you leave the house is always good. If I need them in the house for some reason, I can go out to the car and get them. So one of the new pair of glasses is in the car. The other is on my face and usually on me or within reach. So that's the answer. No dramatic news. The good news about that is that usually when you're my age, people my age will see noticeable deterioration in their eyes year after year after year. The cataracts get bigger. The lenses get harder on your eyes, so you need to keep increasing and changing the prescription. You might be starting to get retinal detachment, macular degeneration, which is very common among metabolically ill people. I am holding my own and have been for a few years now, and that to me is the most important thing. And if I can hold my own until I die, then I won the game, basically, because I will have died with great eyesight. My hearing is the same way. My hearing is great. It's great. I have tinnitus or tinnitus, depending on your idea of the correct pronunciation. It's pronounced both ways, tinnitus. I still have that. If I had to say, is it getting any better? I'd say, well, I don't know. Maybe. Some days I don't have it at all. Some days I have it more. I've been spending the last 40 years trying to figure out what the hell causes it, and I still haven't figured that out. There's nothing I can change in experimenting where I can absolutely prove causality and say, well, if I do this, I have the tinnitus. If I do that, then I don't have the tinnitus. There's nothing. I've tried everything, but it just comes and goes when it wants to. It's not so bad that it bothers me. I'm not consciously aware of it most of the time unless I focus on it. So that's the answer to your question, Boyd. Hope that worked. What else you got there, Ellen? Anything? Ellen?
Yes, I'm here.
There you go. You froze up
Yes,
for a second. It looked
my
like you were deep
internet's
in thought. Okay.
a little wonky, but that's okay.
Okay, we got it.
Monique Cullis would like to know, do you do intermittent fasting? I believe that's for you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of my main tenets that I've been practicing since not only just carnivore but keto. I've always practiced. I believe in intermittent fasting, time restricted eating. I'm not a long-term faster, Well, one of the reasons is I don't want to lose any more weight. If you've got a lot of weight to lose, 1, 2, or 3 day fasts are great things to work in. Great things to work in because that's when you really get an opportunity to burn up your body fat. So the first step in converting yourself from a sugar burner like almost everybody else on the planet right now into a fat burner metabolism is to you start eating the meat and you stuff yourself. Well, while you're busy doing that initial 30 or maybe even 60 days of eating more than you ever thought you'd want to eat, just so you can kill the cravings and get over the hump like I talk about in my videos of what to do for the first 30 days. After you finally become a fat burner and you've got your insulin somewhat under control and you haven't eaten sugar at all for a month or two, now you're at a position where you say, okay, I've been through the hazing phase. What do I do now? What do I settle into as a routine? Now, even the word routine, when it comes to things that involve any bodily function like eating, are best left to the cues that your body gives you and not trying to override those cues or micromanage anything. And it makes it very simple. When somebody asks the question, well, when should I eat? The obvious answer is, well, you eat when you're hungry. The unknown variable is most people don't really understand what actual hunger feels like because all they've been doing for most of their life has been emotional eating and sugar-driven eating, which is not hunger. Mute your mic, Ellen, please. Thank you. There you go. Nope, you unmuted it again. There you go. Yeah. We're going to get you, honest to God. Keep it up, kid. I'm going to have you in a pair of headphones faster than you know what hit you. I'll even send them to you. That's one thing you notice. Nobody that does any kind of professional broadcasting on YouTube, not Joe Rogan, not anybody, generally, unless they don't need to hear what's going on. Now, Joe Rogan can get away without headphones if he's in his studio because he's got no speakers. He doesn't need to hear the other guy. The other guy's across the table from him. But any podcast, everybody's got headphones on. And there's a reason for that, because if you have a speaker going, it feeds back into your microphone. And that's what was happening. I'm surprised. Maybe you got the volume on your speaker turned up louder than usual, and that may be why it's happening today. But that's a technical thing, and we'll get to it. Back to the question of intermittent fasting. I love talking about this subject because it's an intricate subject. You can make video after video, and they have been made about fasting and intermittent fasting. What are the benefits? How should you do it? But I always go back to the basics in everything. And the basics of the way I try to do everything with carnivore is to learn how to recognize and take cues from your own body, much like any animal would do. Animals don't think. They don't have to think, is it dinner time? Is it lunchtime? They just know. They're told when to eat and they're told when to stop. And that's all hormonally driven. And we're the same way. We just try to outsmart that all the time. So once you've been fat adapted, once you learn to recognize what really is actually hunger and not habit, because we do get in the habit of standing in front of the refrigerator, and we've talked about this, looking and saying, nothing really looks good to me. Well, then you're not hungry. If you were hungry, if you were really hungry and all you had in the refrigerator was filet of beaver's tail, you'd dive into it. That is what hunger means. You'd eat anything that didn't try to eat you first. Very few humans in this planet today, other than the starving children in Africa, have ever experienced that kind of hunger. And it doesn't have to be severe. It can just be, with me, I never get that hungry. But I do get a little inkling of, okay, I could eat. And in that respect, I do kind of go by a schedule, because We got to live. It's convenient. So for me, I've decided after some experimentation, especially with one meal a day, OMAD, that it's best. I'm not comfortable eating the amount of food that I need to eat in any given day just to maintain the status quo, not to lose more weight. And if anybody had ever told me that I'd have a problem and I'd have to concentrate on not losing weight, I would have told them they were crazy, man. I could walk by a bakery and gain 5 pounds just by the smell. It, I've always put on fat so fast it made my head spin. So to be in a position where people are saying you're too skinny, I mean, I love it, but I have to make sure, and I know that my body needs at least 2 pounds of protein and fat every day. That's too much for me to eat at one meal. I'm pushing myself away. So I decided I have to eat 2 meals a day, but I do want to intermittent fast. So I made them the 2 meals as close to 4 hours apart as I can. My first meal usually comes at 11 to 12, and then 3 to 4 for my second meal. So I'm eating, basically, when you figure the time it takes me to finish eating my second meal, in a 5 hour window every day. That means I fast. When I say fast, I mean, and I don't snack. I never put a bite of food in my mouth unless it's at the time of one of those 2 meals. I do believe firmly that when you eat a meal, you should eat a full meal. You should eat it to satiety. You should fill up the dishwasher basically before you run it. You should fill up your stomach before you start the digestive cycle, and you should not interrupt it until it's done. You should not dilute it by drinking tremendous amounts of liquids while you eat, because that dilutes your stomach acid and hinders the breakdown of the proteins into amino acids in your stomach by the stomach acid. That's how carnivores digest things. You don't see animals drinking mass quantities of water, especially carnivores, when they're eating. And we shouldn't either. So I go by those simple biological rules. And after I'm finished my second meal of the day, another bite of food does not pass into me until 11 to 12 the next day. And I'm never hungry. The last I ate was yesterday afternoon. I'm not hungry. When it gets to be about 11, 12 o'clock, maybe it's habit, but I'll start to think about food. Yeah, I could eat. I probably should eat. And I do eat. And I'll eat maybe a half a pound of bacon and 6 eggs, and then about a pound or more of some kind of meat for dinner tonight. A steak, hamburger, chicken thighs, fish, something like that. And I've settled into those very narrow range of foods. But the intermittent fasting, by doing 19 hours a day, that's long enough to actually, for your body to actually get into what they call autophagy, where it starts repair processes. And this is one of the benefits of longer term fasts as well. So if you got a lot of weight to lose, I think multiple day fasts are great for that. If you, like me, are pretty well where you want to be and have settled into a routine that you've been doing for years, keep doing it. You don't have to, I don't find a need for me to fast for a day. Yeah, I might have a little more autophagy, but I get it every night and things heal themselves. And my loose skin manages to tighten up. And it's incredible what goes on in your body while you're healing. So, yes, I think while it's not necessary on carnivore, while if you want if you want to eat breakfast at 8 in the morning and you want to eat another meal at noon and you feel like you got to have another meal at 10 o'clock at night, you can do that and probably still get healthier on carnivore. But I think to really, really experience the full benefits of this lifestyle, you need to relegate eating to just a necessary task you do for a short time every day and just live your life without stuffing your face for the rest of the time. Hope that answers that question. And that question brought us to almost the end of the stream. So what else you got there, Ellen?
Jamie Valks, we have a new member.
Oh, member of the private community.
A new welcome to channel support, Jamie.
Oh, well, welcome, Jamie. God, that's going to be way down at the bottom here. Let's see if I can scroll up. See, I am, boo, I am feeding back into your speaker. So can you turn the volume down on what you're listening through? At any rate, I'm looking here for the new member, Jamie. There it is. Jamie Volks, thank you, and welcome to the private community. Welcome to the private community. Good to see you. Good to see you. And we'll look forward to seeing you next Thursday night. Next Thursday night at 7 p.m. in the private community chat. You'll notice now when you look at my channel as a member, you will find all kinds of live streams pop up that you have access to. So if you want to see what they're like, you can go back and watch a couple of the replays of some of those live streams. So you'll know what you're getting yourself into. And those live streams have many of us sitting in a panel. I think there were 7 of us in there last night, just becoming great friends and talking to each other and answering questions. And sometimes it's about politics. Sometimes it's about things other than carnivore, things that I try not to talk about in the general public life. And we've gotten to know each other real well. So thank you for that. Thank you for joining. And that takes me down to the bottom of the chat. Let me check back with Ellen. What else you got, Ellen?
Okay, those are all the questions for
Perfect.
today.
Perfect. Did we have some from yesterday that were unanswered?
Yeah, do you want to do one?
Yeah, let's do one or two of those. Why not? I'll go a little long. We'll catch up. I want to catch up with some of those things.
It's up to you.
No, go ahead. One more. Well, do one more question.
LAT from the UK, who is here, I know, asked yesterday, and this was when you were talking about the checkout and the scanning at Sam's Club, scanning your
I remember that,
your cart, etc., just to give people some context. So LAT asked, if store security is run by AI, have you heard about AI hallucinating? So,
that's an interesting question.
I thought that was a kind of a fun one to throw in.
Yeah. Let me. It's not going to be a long, detailed answer, but what is a hallucination? In other words, unless you understand what happens in a human brain when they hallucinate. For instance, a diagnosed schizophrenic that actually hears voices or sees imaginary people. To them it appears completely real. Completely real. And that's very understandable because that's how our brain works anyway. Our brain just assembles information and presents it in a way that we perceive. But nothing is really real. Nothing is really real. Sound, as we perceive it, is not real. Sound is nothing more than our eardrums being pounded at a certain frequency. If a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there, did it make a sound? No, it just made vibrations. Things that we see. Things that in our brain appear like a movie screen, like an IMAX screen, a huge picture in front of us, aren't real. There's no picture out there in front of us. There is only light bouncing off of things of different frequencies, and our machinery perceives it. And it's the same thing to say to somebody, when you tune in your radio, is that really music? Because when you turn off your radio, the music goes away. It's still there. Those waves are still traveling through the air. It's just the machine that interprets those waves is turned off. So the phrase perception is reality is a human thing because it's not really reality. We still don't know. We're learning, but it's still a puzzle how the universe works and the fields of quantum physics. And I love quantum physics. I That's another thing I study. It's crazy. So when you say can an AI, can a computer hallucinate? My answer would be without the shadow of a doubt because all artificial intelligence is trying to put together information that represents something and present it back and assemble it according to algorithms that provide something else for us to perceive with our senses that isn't real either. So if any of you have ever had a software program make a mistake or your computer screen go blue, that's just a malfunction of hardware. And that's exactly what human hallucinations are, is a malfunction of human hardware. The brain's wiring gets crossed, and what is presented to us or perceived as real isn't really real. It's coming from somewhere else, but in its final form, it appears real. So in that respect, I think I would be surprised if these AIs didn't make monumental mistakes all the time. And if we want to call them hallucinations, call them what you want. They're not hallucinations like humans have, but they probably could create or go off down on a strange path and create something they present back to us that they shouldn't have created based on their current programming. Now, I hope that wasn't too convoluted an explanation, but yes, the answer to your question, I think so. And it would take a paper this thick to explain all the actual steps and reasons why that might be true. I hope that answered your question. It came out of left field as far as any kind of a question that I would have expected on my morning live stream, but I love those kind of questions because those are the kind of questions that make you exercise your brain, makes you think, and makes you critically think. And one of the main reasons that people get old and they get senile is they stop thinking. They just start consuming. That's it. That's why most old people are sitting in front of the TV, passing time, watching soap operas without an original or critical thought in their mind. And that's a sad way to go. That's why someone who is still working and not retired, like me, theoretically I'm retired, but as long as I keep working and keep doing this and having my brain challenged every day, I think that I'll stay young and sharp. And that's also a reason why I do this too. So thanks for that question, man. I enjoyed that. I could sit for hours with somebody interested and contemplate on all of the different factors that might come into play and how to define them and how to label them so that they have meaning. But that was a great question. Great question. Thanks.
That
Thanks.
was a great one.
Yeah, I
Mitch, you
appreciate
are
that.
hardly retired.
Yes.
I'll
So
wait.
Ellen, I'm gonna bring you back in because
Okay.
we're running long today, and I
Yeah.
tell you, if we keep doing this, it's going to be a 2 hour stream. I know it.
Things are still happening in the chat, and
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
know. It's great to see. I still got 110 people here, and I love you guys. And you guys. I always tell you this, but I really mean it. You mean a lot to me. You guys are great, and
Yeah.
I enjoy this. I enjoy these live streams now. I look forward to these morning things, and I'm usually ready to do them an hour before I actually go live. So 8:30 can't come soon enough. But I don't want to start any earlier than that. Uh, that probably would not help the cause. But I'll be back tomorrow morning, Saturday morning,
That's right. We will be.
8:30 right here, and you all owe, as well as me, a great deal of thanks to Ellen for working so hard for this. I
Uh,
appreciate it so much. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you, everyone in chat, for being here. Thanks for all the great discussion and comments. And LAT, who asked that question, Mitch said that she, I believe you're a she, I apologize if not, is exercising her brain currently, having breakfast with Mitch.
Thank you. Thank you. That's great. That's great. That's
Have a
great. I
great
love.
Friday, everyone.
Okay, Ellen, thanks so much. And we will see you tomorrow morning. And that leaves me, the music, the coffee, and the cigar. So I'll take a minute. I'll relight my cigar. Enjoy the music while you guys say goodbye to each other in the chat. Have at it. So all too soon we come to the end of another Morning Coffee with Mitch. Thank you all for coming. Been great fun as usual. Thanks so much for the great questions. We had some good questions today. I enjoy the challenge of answering these things and trying to answer them off the top of my head. And with that, my friends, I will say, there's no suspense anymore. You all know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, take the rest of the day off and eat meat.